that's straight and bright. By the light of the word.
Today on Light of the Word with Pastor Ray.
I think that's the beautiful thing about asking the Lord, because sometimes He'll just speak to you and go, no, that's not the best, but I want this relation. No, I won't give you anything that would take away from you drawing near to me. But on the other side, Lord, can I? Oh, yes, I want to give this to you. I've been waiting to give this to you because I love you. I'm in every detail of your life, and I want you to see how I am. Come ask of me, and I'll give it to you.
Open your heart to us, Lord, so we can know your word. We come before you, Jesus. Speak to our hearts as we discover your love for us. How wide, how deep, how far. Pour into us so we can learn to follow. One surrender at a time. You have made the way for us to know you, a path that's straight and bright. By the light of the word.
Many of us would be quick to agree that just because we want something, it doesn't always mean it's what we necessarily need. Perhaps one of the hardest things for us to do as believers is to go before the Lord when it comes to the wants and needs of life. As Pastor Ray will teach you in his message today, one of the best things we can do is to take everything before God in prayer. In his study, you'll learn that while it's not always enjoyable at the time, receiving a no from the Lord can be one of the best things that can happen to us. Well, let's join Pastor Ray in the book of Joshua, chapter 15, for today's edition of Light of the Word.
Caleb and Joshua, are they not two of the greatest men of faith that we read in the Bible? What men of faith? They're not listed in Hebrews 11, Hall of Faith. And sometimes I look and go, what's missing is as interesting to me as what's written and spoken. And you know what I think? I think God's just making an example. You know the life of Caleb? You know the life of Joshua? It's a life of faith, but it's just a life that should be the typical Christian life. Walking in faith, walking in his word, obeying. He says, take that hill. We take that hill. He says, you go over, minister there. We go over, minister there. I think they're not listed because God's making, it's just everyday faith that I'm asking you to live. I wasn't asking you to do anything more than what you were capable and should expected to do. Amazing. Now verse 15 through 17, another amazing passage. I mean, God's word's so rich, you know, we can read chapter 15 and go, oh, it's a bunch of cities, till you start looking into this stuff and you go, man, what's being said here? Verse 15 through 17, then he went up from there to the inhabitants of Debar, for formerly known of Debar was Kirjath-Sephar. And Caleb said, he who attacks Kirjath-Sephar and takes it, to him I will give Achsah, my daughter, as wife. So Othniel, son of Kenaz, the brother of Caleb, so it's a nephew, took it and gave him Achsah, his daughter, as wife. What we know about Caleb, 85 years old, I'm as strong this day as I was the day we entered in. 45 years of wandering in the wilderness, 7 years of war, I'm still as strong today. Give me the giants, I'll take the giants. And he took the giants. He has no problem taking Debar either. He's more than capable of taking Debar. But here's what he's doing. I'm not only laying a challenge, I'm laying a condition. I challenge a man to rise up and be a man, a warrior man. And I'm asking you to go and take this land, but it's a condition that comes with it. Anybody that wants to marry my daughter, you need to be a man of war. You need to be a giant killer. You need to be a man of faith. Don't come knocking on my daughter's door asking to take my daughter to the movies, asking to take my daughter to Starbucks, unless you are a man who's proven yourself as a man of the word, as a man of war, as a man who will go and fight, a man who will lead her deeper in the faith, a man who will take her closer to God. And would you flip with me to Ephesians chapter 5 as I speak to the men for a minute. Ephesians chapter 5. Girls eat potato chips. Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. So if you see Galatians, go a couple pages over. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her, that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of the water by the word, that he might present her to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she should be holy and without blemish. So husbands ought to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. Oh, what do we see there? Two things real quick is, you must die. Men, you must die. And we have a responsibility. We must present our bride spotless before him. If we have to wake up before they do or stay up later than they do, then that's what we do. Because this is what God has called men to be as the leaders of their homes. Caleb's saying, listen, if you ain't a man of war, if you're not a man of faith, if you don't believe in the God who is in every detail, if you don't believe that God will give you this land, if you don't believe that God will lead you in this victory, then don't come asking my daughter out. Because that's the only thing, the only man that I would ever let take my daughter out. Hey girls, you who are dating and courting, if he is not a man who fights, if he's not a man who's a man of the word, if he's not a man who has taken you to become a spotless bride, if he's not a man who's leading you closer into the arms of Jesus Christ, if he's not a man of the word, not a man of the faith, then wait. Don't. Just wait. You'll be so much happier that you waited for a man like a Caleb, like a Joshua, like an Othniel, who I'm fight for you. I'll die for you. Whatever it costs, that's what I'll do for you. Girls, don't settle for less. And men, husbands, this is what we have to be. It's a price to pay. It might cost us some sleep. It might cost us putting down NFL. Some guys, I like what the one buddy says, they're boys that shave. They're just little boys, but they're old. They have full beards, but they're just little boys playing their PlayStation games, playing their little self things that entertain them. They're just boys that shave. Women, you need a man that fights, a man who's of the word. And I remember, it's a story I love, one of our family stories that I love to retell is my mother. No boy could go out with my mother until the first date was always at Grandpa's house playing cards. That was the rule. So imagine today, hey, I'd like to take you out. And imagine my mother having to go, well, first date is always at the house playing cards with my dad. So that was a divider real quick right there. But all first dates, playing cards at the house. And Mom tells the story. So they're sitting at the kitchen table, her and her date, Grandpa, Grandma. By the way, Grandpa, his name's Ray. That's what I'm named after. He was a Navy boxing champ. So he was fit. He fought in World War I and II. He was a man's man for sure. And so they're sitting at the table playing cards, and Mom says, and then here's she says, here's your grandpa. So here's my dad. And he gets this look of anger over his face, and his face starts turning red, and then his face starts to cringe up, and he takes the cards, he raises his hand, and he slams them down on the kitchen table. He's like, "You little cheater." And then chairs start flipping over, tables start moving as my granddad starts getting out of the table. And that little boy, he was fast. He was 100 yards, 5 blocks down the road before Granddaddy made it to the front door. He was gone. So, my mother, here she's a teenage girl. She's running out the door. "You crazy nutcase, you're ruining my life," screaming at my dad and my grandfather. "You've embarrassed me for life." And she runs and she catches up to him. And then he's down there 5 blocks away, breathing heavy. And she's like, "I'm so sorry, my dad's a nutcase." And he goes, "I was cheating." Granddad ain't no liar, no cheat, no thief, taking my daughter out. And I think that's a beautiful illustration. Here's what Caleb says: "I want a man of war. You want to date my daughter? You need to be a man of war. You need to be a man of faith." Oh, beautiful. Verse 18 through 19. "Now it was so when she came to him that she persuaded him to ask her father for a field. So she dismounted from her donkey, and Caleb said to her, 'What do you wish?' She answered, 'Give me a blessing since you have given me the land in the south. Give me also springs of water.' So he gave her the upper springs and the lower springs." So Caleb's daughter, Aska, comes to her new husband, says, "Okay, Dad's given us this land, but I want you to ask for these springs because, men aren't always the smartest. We need water. We need some provisions. So go ask Dad." It's obvious that Oxnard is willing to go fight giants, but he's afraid to go ask Caleb for this land. So here she comes, and she goes to her father, Caleb, and she persuades him, "I want this land." It's not written. I couldn't find it. I know it's in here somewhere. Women, wives especially, have the gift of persuasion on their husbands. I don't know where that is, but women have this gift of persuasion. There's something in them. And so here she's trying to bring this persuasion, but she just steps up and she goes to her father. Is this a contradiction of trusting a sovereign God? Left hand, pot, Judah. Right hand, southern. Now here comes his daughter. "I know the lot, I know the inheritance, but I want this area specifically." Is it a contradiction? Not at all. Because James 4:2 says, "You have not because you ask not." She's her dad's daughter. Caleb came to Joshua and go, "This land's mine. I fought for it." She watched her father and says, "I watched how Daddy handled it. I take a cue after Dad. Hey, Dad, I want this land." And you know what? This is what the Lord wants us to do. You have not because you ask not. I want you to come and ask me. I want you to come and spend time with me because I want you to see my heart is for you. I want you to see I'm in every little detail of your life. And I'm like any one of you fathers and mothers, we love it when our kids come and we get to say, "I would love to bless you." Or we say, "No, it's not the best thing for you." And I think that's a beautiful thing about asking the Lord, because sometimes he'll just speak to you and go, "No, that's not the best. But, I want this relation." No, I won't give you anything that would take away from you drawing near to me. But on the other side, "Lord, can I?" "Oh, yes. I want to give this to you. I've been waiting to give this to you because I love you. I'm in every detail of your life, and I want you to see how I am. Come ask of me, and I'll give it to you." But as we always say when we talk about prayer, Christian, don't just seek his hand. Seek his face, and I guarantee you'll see his hand. But if you come only looking at his hand, what can he give you? You'll probably miss his face. Come to him in that time of prayer and just before him, giving him adoration, glory for who he is. Then you see he's a great God of power. He's a great God of love. You see he's in every detail. And then you start building this confidence of, I know he's for me. And I know this situation that I'm in, he's going to steer me and direct it to my betterment because all things work together for good. What's all things? Every last little detail. For those who love God and called according to his purposes. So now you have this personal relationship with the Lord and not a giver-receiver. All right, in verse 20 through 62. This was the inheritance, verse 20, of the tribe of the children of Judah according to their families. Verse 62, Nibshan, the city of salt, and En-gedi, 6 cities with their villages. Verse 63, as for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out, but the Jebusites dwelt with the children of Judah in Jerusalem to this day. 112 cities are mentioned there, and it could be boring if we read all 112 of these cities unless it was your story. Unless we were sitting here in your story, and if you've been saved for 112 days, you'd be able to give 112 cities of victories. Oh, I remember when he gave me that victory over my anger. Oh, I remember when he gave me that victory over that fear that I had. Oh, I remember how he gave me that fruit of the Spirit, love, and out of me just poured, if you would, the city of joy, of peace, of patience. It's a beautiful thing. And you know what? They walk into a land, they didn't have to do nothing for it. God did the victories for them. Here they are now. They're coming into 112 cities. This is just Judah. And they're walking into houses that are built, vineyards that are already planted, crops that are already coming into fruit. Some of the homes, no doubt, would have provisions of tables and furniture, silver and gold and all these type of things, cattle and all these things. And all they had to do was just come and take it. And God's like, I just want to give it to you. And in verse 63, as we close today, again, it's a sad verse. As for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Judah at Jerusalem to this day. So up to this writing, the Jebusites were not driven out. They won't be driven out until David comes on the scene, and we'll read that amazing story, how they took that as Commander Joab, and so you got some men of war there who had the confidence and the faith to go take it. You can have all Jesus Christ you want, not one drop more. They're afraid to take the hill. They're afraid for whatever the reason. And you know what's the problem and the sad part about this verse here is generation after generation after generation of children watching their fathers be afraid to go take the hill and go take the city, being willing to say, it's good enough. Where we're at, kids, are good enough. But Dad, don't you want to go drive them out? Look how they mock us. Didn't God say that this would be it's good enough, kids? Let's not get crazy. Let's not get radical. Let's not get ourselves in a place that we can find ourselves harmed or hurt in some way. Let's just say this is good enough. And generation after generation after generation, the kids watch the parents not have the faith to take it. But we see the life of Caleb. Every promise comes with every power. Every promise, I'll give you this, love, joy, peace. I'll give you victory over fear, anxiety. I'll give you victory over these addictions. I'll give you victories over your tongue. And every one of those promises come with a power. And we see it. And here's what I want to know. Why didn't they call Caleb? Hey, Caleb, could you just come down? 85 years old and you were still a giant killer. You were an amazing man. Caleb, could you come and share with us how you did it? What was your keys to victory? And Caleb, as we studied last week, he'll say, I wholly followed after the Lord. But here's a recap, and I close a little early today. Here's 6 things I saw in the life of Caleb. And we could turn them all into a sermon, but I think we see his life. It speaks for itself, and may that be our story, that our life speaks for ourselves and people see it. But he's a man of patience. We need to be people of patience. 45 years, he waited patiently for his promise. And you might have to wait 45 days, 45 months, 45 years, but God will give you his promise. Perseverance. What a man. 45 years of warring, and he never quit, and he never gave up. He battled through every battle, looking for the next battle. And then, small little thing until you think about it, He was a man of submission. Could he not have said, okay, you guys want to be wimpy about this and not go into the promised land? As for me, I'm going in. I'm going to start my own movement. I'm going to go in because I know I can have the victory. Instead, he submits to God's plan for the nation of Israel through Moses. And then Moses retires off the scene. And who does God pick and tap? Joshua. Once again, we see Caleb, a man of submission. He could have been like, I'm the one who wants to kill giants. Why aren't I the number one? Why don't I get to lead? And he just submits himself, fully trusting in the Lord. And submission is the key. I trust your word, Lord. I trust where you have me. I trust you for the situations that you put me in. And I'm just going to submit to those things. And of course, fourthly, faith. He saw what no one could see. Do you know the eagle? The eagle has sensory perception like 8 times greater than the human eyes that we have, and these are amazing eyes. Do you know an eagle from 600 feet can spot the detail of a dime in 6 inches of grass? You know the American eagle can 3 miles away can see a 3-inch fish in the water. See, the eagle can see what others can't, and that's what faith is. Faith sees what no one else can see, even though it's right there. Caleb was a man of faith. He knew his God was a faithful God, and hence he could show up with his receipt saying, I get Hebron, and I get to go take these giants. And then the last 2 is zeal. He never lost his zeal. 85 years, I want more. I'm not ready to retire. Don't give me the beach. Don't give me the sandy seashore. I want giants. Christian, it is a good thing to go find some fights. Sometimes we want to just kick back and cut out and rest and relax, but I would encourage you this. You want to finish like Caleb, keep going and look for some fights. Because then you'll need to call upon the name of the Lord saying, okay, we're in this fight. We're going to go take these giants, but I'm going to trust you're with me. And I think it's a good thing for us as Christians. Let's go find some fights. Let's not find ourselves backed off, but let's find ourselves pushing off. Let's not try to maintain ground. Let's go push and take some more ground. Oh, it will come with war. I guarantee you that. But it's a good war, and it's worth the fight. And lastly, what we see with him is he's just a man of courage. Interesting study of history. You'll see a continual thread of nations that collapse. And we always talk about nations collapse because of internal moral failure. And the truth is that is true. But you know what comes along with that and probably precedes it more than succeeds it is the loss of courage. You find nations who had lost their courage to fight the fight. And they were looking for an easy and being agreeable and saying, look, we don't want to get into a battle with you. Can't we just negotiate this diplomatically? And what you watch through history is nations failing because they lost their courage.
You have made the way for us to know you, a path that's straight and bright.
Joshua wasn't a perfect leader. He made mistakes in his time, just as any human being does. Yet God continued to call Joshua into seemingly impossible situations, allowing him to choose to trust God and follow in faith. In doing so, Joshua and the people of Israel witnessed miracles and victories only their almighty Creator could accomplish. How are you being called to lead today? It might be in your job, in your ministry, or in your home. God may even be asking you to trust Him in something impossible. Take a cue from Joshua today and allow God to do the miraculous. Trust Him and take the steps He's asking and watch Him do wondrous things. As you follow God, we'd like to be a source of encouragement. Can we pray for you? Give us a call at 443-995-3282. That's 443-995-3282. Thanks for tuning in today to Light of the Word. We're so blessed to be able to share God's Word with you with each new edition of this program. To learn more about Light of the Word and Pastor Ray Bolus, visit ccaac.org. You'll be able to listen to additional teachings from God's Word and explore links to daily devotionals. That website again is ccaac.org. That's all we have time for today on Light of the Word, illuminating the heart of God.
You have made the